What makes the greats great? What makes the successful successful? What makes the brilliant brilliant? Our Tuesday meetups with the celebrities of pharma industry and science are your one-stop shop to all these answers and more. Join us for Pies of Life, an initiative of the Biopatrika Industry Mentorship Program, where we bring your dream mentors to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad I'm interacting with the young minds. Would like to think Narendra and I are young. Narendra is far younger than I am. But that's the beauty of corporate life, because learning is a constant thing to grow in the corporate life. And that's how I have been. It's been about 21 years that I've been working with different organizations. Today, I am the CHRO of Dhampur Sugar Mills. It's a 5,000 crore organization with 3 business lines. Sugar, which is the primary business for us, sugar manufacturing. We are also into chemicals and a little bit into power generation, which internally we consume, as well as we also export it to the state of Uttar Pradesh. Before this, I have been with Biocon, with Narendra. There I was heading ODN, talent management, organization development, talent management and learning. Before that, I was with Jubilant for some time. I was with Samsung for about good 5 years. And I was with Hero Group prior to that. I'm an MBA. I've also done master's in psychology and specialized in child psychology, because in MBA, you do study about organization behavior, which is slightly on industrial psychology. Child psychology helped me understand more about the learning patterns of people and how personalities differ. And since that's a core area of HR, that's how I grew. And honestly speaking, I'm not with an HR background. I mean, that's not how I started my career. I started my career as a programmer way back 20 years ago, when Y2K struck India and programming wasn't that go-to job then. I started off then. And then somebody said, you speak well, why don't you explore training and HR? And so somehow that's how I got into it. I took it for a lark, tried it. It did well. I did well, and people appreciated what I was doing. So then I had to keep adding certifications, foundations, different kind of learnings to my repertoire to grow in the corporate. And of course, added more values with some more certifications to understand more on the legal aspect of HR. And yes, that's how I've grown. What has helped me understand in my 21 years with different corporates, different kind of businesses, different industries, is first thing, never ever undermine any kind of education that you've had in your growing years. It doesn't make a difference what kind of graduation you do, what has been your stream during the last few years of school. After graduation, what are the different educations? Do continue to learn, do continue to add certifications, but don't ever get stuck to a stream, and don't ever close your mind towards different streams, because somehow, somewhere, life has a way to bring everything together. I completed graduation in botany honors, which is a science stream, added MBA, which is a commerce stream, and then add child psychology, which is an art stream. So you can say jack of all trades. But somehow all of these came together somehow. I specialized as a computer programmer when I started off, and then left it. But today is the world of digitalization, and it's very difficult for a lot of HR people to understand the architecture of computers and the nodes and the servers. Now that initial years is helping me now to align with the IT people and then look at the digital space as well as future of an organization. I understand IoTs and AIs a little better than a lot of my HR folks because of the background that I've had. And somehow life has come to a full circle. I started with botany, And today with Dhampur and looking at sugarcane and the red rot and the kind of soil, different kind of soils and how the irrigation systems happen, the botany, it's all coming back to me right now. So life has its own way of presenting what all you have learned to be able to apply it in different streams. So I'm glad that I have never undermined any form of learning, and it has, over a period of time, it has helped me immensely. So that's a little brief about how I've grown. What all do you want me to talk on?
I think, we'll wait for the questions and then maybe we can come back. And what I'm going to ask you, everybody, to, when they ask the question, introduce yourself. And then at the end, I've asked Shruti to do something what she does really well now, a rapid fire, 10 questions. So that's sort of the format. So about half an hour, or 45 minutes or so, we can just do a Q&A.
Yeah, sure. In fact, I love questions. Don't ever hesitate in asking questions. That's one thing that I've always told all the new joiners in the corporate, the young minds who come and join corporates. I always tell them, this is the time for you to ask questions. After some years, you suddenly become corporatized, and therefore you stop asking questions because you have so many presumptions in your head how the questions will be taken. But as Steve Jobs said, it pays to be stupid. No question is ever stupid. You got to keep the stupidity around. That is the only way to creativity and questioning the status quo. So please, I'm hoping for questions.
First one is always courage.
Okay, I'll go ahead if nobody else is volunteering first. Okay, hi Sudeep, it's a pleasure meeting you. I am Vihang. I'm working as a scientist in Syngene right now, and I'm kind of new in this group. Maybe for a month, I've been interacting with Narendra and the peer group over here. It's pretty much nice. These interactions are always very insightful. So what I wanted to ask you is, like, I completely get your point of not closing yourself to different ideas and streams, and like you can have always things coming to you, and then eventually everything culminates into something more productive and more like a mixture of everything. But then we always have that kind of insecurity to make a switch, right? Like somewhere you have that inner calling that, you know what, I want to do this, but then you always feel that, oh my God, I have invested so much of my time, energy, and my my hard work I have put into a certain stream, and I have looked forward into becoming X while working on that. And now if I am diverting into Y, then I might completely lose X. That kind of insecure, I'm sure you might have also gone through that. So how do you deal with it, and how do you cope up with that then eventually?
Thanks, Vihang. That's a fair question. That's a very, very important question. I think it will be important for everybody. I mean, to each his own. Everybody has their own way of looking at what the future holds for you. There is predictive based on data analytics and numbers and business analytics, and people now to say that you must take informed decision. However, I still believe that the human mind has grown so much that our intuition, what we call as intuition, is usually backed by a data, we can say an algorithm in our head, the neural science in our head, which presents us the most likely factor that will help you, which you may not be able to figure out. I mean, we as human beings are still probably far behind to understand the science in which our brain works, but our intuition actually tells us whether to pick that up or not. So and there is no harm going laterally in trying to understand different kinds of stream. There are people who are very comfortable switching from one stream to the other and they pick it up, and there's no harm in going in depth, vertically in deep in a particular stream also. So if your heart tells you pick that up because it's nice, it's challenging, your heart tells you, but your head tells you don't, I think listen to your heart sometimes and just go with it. Your heart is able to understand the head far more than the head understands. I have felt so. So there have been so many times when I did computers, when I was as a programmer, people said that don't get into this training bit because it's a lot. It's right now just a fad, and therefore it may not be helpful. But training and learning and development has grown so much that today it's a CXO position. And many big organizations, learning is a CLO position, which sits on the C table, the C-suite table, and takes and partakes in various conversations or strategy of our business. When I moved from learning to other areas of HR, a lot of people said, if you're working with Samsung and the Hero Group, which is core into manufacturing, large scale, why do you want to get into chemicals? That's not what India is known for. It may be, but my heart said that I have to explore. So I have always gone by what my heart tells me. And I'm not saying that I've not made mistakes, but usually it comes around. So I would still suggest people to go by your heart. Whatever your heart says, it'll figure out itself. Don't think too much. Just jump into it and go with the flow. Life has its own way of figuring it out. If you are good and if you believe in yourself, you will not fail. You'll fail if you don't believe in yourself.
That was very motivational, Sudeep. I really appreciate that answer. Thank you so much.
Yes, Neha. You're on mute, I guess.
I am so sorry. I'm just not used to this. So yeah, I am saying it's a pleasure. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So my question was, when as you said, right, how learning is important, like at every stage you need to acquire a certain level of skill set or certifications and all. So there's this new thing that has been going on a lot, that is course era, where people opt for a lot of certificate courses. I had this concept to understand that, there are two ways in which you can acquire. One is like a paid version where you get a certificate from the university in the long distance manner, and one is that unpaid one where you follow the same course, it's just that you do not get the certificate in a physical format. So what do you recommend, as in when you're taking up a course, any course to build up your skill set, how do you look at it? As does a certification, like a physical certification, is really required to prove your skill set when you are actually showcasing your skill set to the company that you're looking for, aiming at? What are your views on that?
That's a good question. A lot of people think about it, and a lot of people do have a dilemma around what should I be. But as HR, we definitely look at certification. So I think, but before I come back to how it is perceived, I'll first ask you this question: when you look at developing yourself and reskilling or upgrading your skills, you have to first go by what is the purpose of your reskilling. Is it to increase your knowledge, and which will help you do better in some other activities that you're doing? Like, for example, you could be a scientist and you could be writing, not scientist, but a postgraduate in science, and you're doing a PhD, and a little bit of understanding of data analytics and statistical theories and various charts around it will help you analyze your data better. So now here, a certification on statistics will not necessarily add any value to your PhD, but it's just going to help the quality of the PhD work that you give out. So here, a certification may not be very important. But if you are picking up a certification for the sake of picking up a certification and showing it to someone else, that look, I have the certification which validates that I have the skill set, then of course the paid version is important. So for example, I'll tell you, my wife, she's a postdoc in molecular biology. She was with CSIR, and then she was also a Young Scientist Award winner. But she made a switch from science to business, and she added, and because this, now she was business, she had that thought, commercial thought in her head, as in the mentality towards looking at a business side of science. So first she picked it up from YouTube, Google, information. Now she picked up thereafter, she said, okay, I really want to get into this field. I want to make a switch from science. Then she moved into patents and IP. And then she said, no, I want to quick move into strategy and business. So therefore she added an IAFT business certification. While doing IAFT business certification, she got into strategy and she realized that, you see, no kind of strategy will work unless I am able to do data analytics and business analytics and numbers. Now, before I add a certification, nobody asked her whether have a business analytics certification or not, but she picked it up. So she learned R not through a certification course, but on YouTube. You have ample information. You can download the free version of R or even Python for that matter. Practice it, hone your skills, see whether you really like it, you have the inclination towards it or not. And once you're adding that and you want to add an extra certification to it, go ahead, add an R certification, paid certification. That's exactly how I would suggest people to approach Coursera courses.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Rajeshri.
Hello, Doctor. Hello, Sudeep. So, this is Rajeshri.
Call me Sudeep, please.
Okay. Hello, Sudeep. This is Rajeshri. Recently, I joined as a scientist in Immunito AI, which is a startup in Bangalore.
Yes.
So, I have two questions for you. They are very naive questions, actually. I have recently entering into this corporate world. So, I would like to know from you, what is this learning and development, which you just mentioned, and how does it looks like in a corporate world? And my second question is, like, since you have a knowledge in psychology, I have a question that, like, when you actually interact with people, do you actually get an idea about the personality, and do you actually get a chance to judge that person in just like 5 or 10 minutes meeting?
Okay, for your second question, it's a little longer answer, so I'll answer it later, obviously. But for the first question of what's learning and development, HR, of course, you've heard in corporate that there is a function which looks after the human resources that work with an organization. So any organization runs on 3 kinds of resources: man, material, machine. And man, material, machine are put under SOPs, and they are called the 4th pillar of a business, which is method. That's the 4th pillar of a business: man, machine, method, and material. So the man has to be looked at, the right people at the right work with the right kind of remuneration for their work is something that is looked after by HR. Now, how do I understand whether they're the right person or not? If a person comes in to an organization, is hired, they are hired for their existing skill set, which we presume will help the organization. But when you are into the organization, there are a whole lot of activities to be able to help you prepare for all the job responsibilities. Comes in learning and development, which looks at what is your job responsibility, what are your current skill sets and your abilities, and therefore to fill the gap and help you enhance your performance. Learning and team works with your managers and superiors and you yourself, your inclination, and therefore charts out a course, a path for you to upgrade your skills and enhance it over a period of time. That's learning and development. And they keep updating who's doing what, how they are doing it. There is a science behind this art of learning. So that's learning and development. Now, coming to your second question, which is about psychology. No, we don't. If I look at a person, psychology, you see, it's like if I have to use a psychiatric or psychological method to a person, I must have consent of the person to analyze the person. Without the consent, that's not ethical, and therefore we don't judge you. So as HR, when we come for interviews, we don't judge people by what they answer, but we try and categorize what they bring and what is it that is missing. Although most people, when they do interviews, hiring managers or even HRs, many, I won't use the word most, but many people, they try to look for similar people as they are to try and bring them over. However, what they should look for are complementary people of what they are not, if there's somebody who can complement them. That's where we also have learning teams come and help people how to interview candidates better. The second thing is, we also look at what are they not bringing on table. So what is their weakness? Rather than looking at that way, we rather suggest people to look at what is it that they're bringing on the table. So look at their strengths and how you can utilize them better. However, in any kind of conversation, you can very easily judge personalities. I'll give you a very simple, and I think Narendra would help me on that. There's something called transaction analysis. That's a theory of psychology, which says every human mind has 3 states: the child state, the adult state, and the parent state. So now, if you can correlate it with a child personality, they are either obedient children or they are rebellious children. And so an obedient child would generally respond, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, definitely, ho jayega, sab ho jayega. And a rebellious child will say, mere se nahi ho sakta, I can't do this. This is not how it happens. This is not my job. That's a rebellious child. So if a child is responding, if an adult is the reasoning state of your mind. If you start questioning, no, why don't you think about it in a better way? A rebellious child and an adult cannot connect with each other. If there's a rebellious child, you need an admonishing parent or a nurturing parent. When a child rebels or cries, he expects the mother to console the father to pat him on the back. If the child is obedient, then you would need the parents to direct him in the right manner. So that's how. So if a child is speaking, so now if you're saying, now let's say you and I have a conversation, at every statement that you make, I can tell you whether the child state is talking, or it's the adult state, or it's the parent state. And accordingly, if I can change my conversation, where our tuning will be far better. But if there is a clash, then we'll forever get into conversations and conflicts. So that's how we help people improve their communication with different kind of, you see, any team leader will have different kind of people in their team members. And a team leader must know how to interact with their team members of different personalities. And no state is same. One person can become very reactive and a rebellious child. At another moment, the person could be an obedient child. It's a very fluid thing. One just has to be a little cognizant of the cues that the person is throwing, that today I'm in a very rebellious mood. Don't, pester me. Don't really push me hard. That's the time when I want you to be a little softer with me. Whereas if I'm very obedient, I'm just subservient right now in my state, I want you to help direct me somewhere. And bring the conversation to a better flow. That's how the conversations go on. So yes, interviews one should not look at from a psychologist point of view.
Yeah.
Surekha.
Hi, Sudeep. I'm Surekha, and I currently work in Biocon. I've been here for the past 2 years.
Excellent.
So my question to you is that we focus a lot when we're thinking about our career growth and all of that. We always focus on the technical skills, like what should we know in order to grow further. My question is, what do you think are the non-technical skills or the soft skills that we should focus on that we tend to ignore?
In fact, we ignore all the soft skills throughout our career till it hits us on the head really hard, and then we don't know what to do about it. Because our education system, not just in India, but I think across very few countries have education system which really prepare you for the hardships of life as you go ahead. You see, in any kind of an organization, you would have three kinds of management: the junior management, middle management, and senior management. At a junior management, it's essentially your technical skills, which are very important. So you have to be thorough with it. You have to be constantly looking at how to excel in it, because your focus is very, very, I would say, linear. It's your area, and you have to show as well as have expertise in your area. You have to, as in, you have to know the thing as well as display that you know the thing, know the area that you have been assigned. As you move to the middle management, that's when you start interacting with people, and therefore it's a cross, and you have to guide them. So you have to have both technical skills as well as the softer behavioral skills. Whereas as you go senior, and that's where most junior people have this thing in their head: my manager doesn't really work. He only talks. He only explains. He only those things. We are the ones who make presentations. We are the ones who make data. We are the ones who are actually organizing things. He only understands, asks us to make it and go back and prepare things and come back to us. That's because as you go senior, it's not your technical skills. That's what you have come up for, and we believe you have the technical skills. That's the reason why you are the senior. What we want from you is your convincing skills, your influencing skills, your ability to negotiate and come to a point where three different streams can come to a compromise for the betterment of business. Therefore, you can't really hold on to the technical thing. You have to be able to explain your technical subject to a lot of other senior people who have a stake in a very non-technical manner. Therefore, it's your ability to communicate better, which will be very important. Let's say, for example, if a scientist only looks at and is able to communicate only from a science angle, a lot of business people will lose track and will lose interest, and they'll say, oh, I don't understand. These people only use their jargons. Similarly, for HR folks also, we have to be able to understand what the business wants. We have to understand what the supply chain wants and needs, what R&D is talking, and being able to facilitate that conversation. So at the top, it's only your influencing skills, your softer skills, your behavioral skills, which matter. And unfortunately, we really don't prepare people as they are growing on these aspects, and we wire them towards technical side so much that by the time they come to the leadership, they're found wanting. That's
so how can one prepare for it? And like, how do
you have to have? I mean, anything that you are. You have to first start interacting with people. Don't hesitate to interact with people. The more you interact, the more you explain your work to others. You'll understand what is their understanding of your work, and that's how you'll grow. The other thing is start having different interests. It's very important for you to have varied kind of interest, because that helps you build your learning agility as well as sensitivity towards other streams. So if you are somebody from science, even if you don't get certifications, but there's no harm in learning about history. There is no harm in learning about supply chain. What do they do? There is no harm in learning about what's blockchain. Because somewhere at the top, all of these culminate. So I tell my HR folks also, please don't look at only personnel management and your HR jargons, but know about blockchain, know about what is Internet of Things, know about what is machine learning and AI and deep learning. Today, the world is, we are still stuck at cloud, where the world has moved to fog. So you must know IT to be able to understand how it helps you. So the more you don't think about, oh, I'm going to pick up influencing skills. No, it doesn't happen like that. You have to pick up any skill that interests you other than your mainstream. And when you start convincing others, you learn how the influencing skills work. And then if there is a training program on influence skills, it just gives you the right direction. Honestly speaking, I'm from learning and development background. I'm sure my fraternity will not like this, but training does not help you at all. It's only 10% improvement that it gives you. It does not improve you. Nobody can be trained, and I mean, we're not, for want of a better word, we're not dogs and cats who can be trained to do something. We are adults, and therefore, unless we have the inclination to learn, you cannot teach an adult, but the adult can learn from you. You can teach a child, you can't teach an adult. They all have their own predispositions. So it's very important for people to be open to learning, listening, and just acquiring different skill sets. And then they'll be open to finding what can help them become better. That's how I would put it.
Thank you so much.
Great answer. I'll just quick time check. I know it's on the top of
Yes.
the hour.
I
I'm
know
happy
it
to
will
go
go
along, but Sudeep, do you have time?
No. I am happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I was so late, but I probably missed about 30 minutes, 30 valuable minutes for me.
No worries. No worries. Let's continue a few more questions then. Yeah. Reshma.
Yeah. Hello, Sudeep. I am Reshma. Currently, I am a PhD student at Attract Navi Mumbai, and I am working on chemo radio resistance to therapy. So my question is, whenever we go for an interview, the first person we encounter is the HR, and they ask us, they try to understand what we know. And when the question comes to salary, how do we initiate the salary negotiation, and how we should we don't have any idea what they are going to pay, then how we should start about it?
Okay. At a beginning level, let's say beginner level, I would say when you join as freshers, or let's say 0 to 2 years experience, I think I would suggest, although I leave it to you, and every individual has his own thought in their mind, and therefore I'd leave it to their thoughts. But what I suggest people is, when you are beginning your career, don't try and justify a particular salary. Look for an opportunity where you can learn and where you can contribute. Salary should be secondary, at least for the first 5-6 years of your career. Thereafter, the salary will follow. Don't worry about it. Because of your experience and expertise, the salaries will follow. Most organizations have a very standard band for the beginners, unless there is some kind of premium attached to your education or your initial experience that could give a certain value. But more or less, they generally have a very standard band to begin with. Your first year contribution, I tell people and I suggest people, please don't expect business, you to work wonders in your first year. You're also exploring. You may have done it well, but what's important for a business is consistency of performance. You may have been a star performer in the first year, but unless I see you over 2 years, it's going to be very difficult for me to really put a tag of star performer on your head. You're still a fluke for me the first year. If it did well, wonderful. So at least wait for 2 years in an organization to show your that whether you're indispensable, whether you're dependable, or you are a demanding person. So that's how the organization will categorize you. Now, how do you negotiate a conversation? It's a very straightforward. What do you pay your freshers? And I'm willing. More than the salary, I think it's an organization that you should choose. It's the manager, and do have it's not only the HR, but I think you should really have a conversation. When you're first interacting, you probably would also interact with your hiring manager, whoever is going to be your first superior in the organization. You probably first superior or the one level above the superior. And we all have this understanding, and we have had this understanding since we were in primary school or then, as in when a child is about 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. My daughter, she's 8 years, and she can very easily judge This is the teacher I like, this is the teacher I don't like. And similarly, in the first conversation, you can make out, I like this person, I don't like this person. That's how we make friends. So if you can think your manager, that's the person I'd like to work with. It's not salary, it's your manager and the organization that should attract you to the work. Salaries are later. Because then you get the opportunity to work. I mean, if you have a good manager, he or she will give you the opportunity to experiment, get exposed to, and acquire different kind of skills that while you're working. He'll give you a big, that will be more important than if you have a fantastic salary, but you have a really sad boss to work with, you will not enjoy the money.
Yeah, correct. Thank you so much.
Yes, Anjali, I would say, because A and J is before K.
Hi, Sudeep. Yeah, it was really nice to talk to you. So I'm Anjali, so I'm working with the CCAM, and we are also working.
Your voice is a little feeble. I'm not able to hear you. If you could bring your speaker a little closer.
Is it audible? Yeah, is it audible? Is it audible?
You still sound distant.
Okay, I don't know. Is it audible now?
Yes, it's audible, but if you could just bring the speaker closer to your mouth.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Sudeep. So I'm Anjali. So I'm working with the CCAM, and we are working on, basically, it's in a startup, and we are working with the CRISPR therapeutics. So I have one question for you. So like I had seen a lot of people who works for like 1 year or like 1.5 years, and then there are some problem, maybe because of the funding or something. So they want to switch the company, and when they are switching the company to like some established company. Okay, so I had seen the HRs that time, they don't pay the salary which they were getting in their previous company. In spite, they will consider them as a fresher, and they just reduce the salary. So what's your take on that? Whether the person should like from a startup, if he's going to a stable company with a reduced package, or like he should wait in that particular company and complete the 2-year time.
So your question seems two-pronged. I mean, are the HRs right in negotiating the salary in that way? And the second is, should you do that switch? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Should you do that switch? Both have their pros and cons. You get into an established system, everything is established, there are processes, everything is established. So you just are like a cog in the wheel, and you have to fit into your place in an established system and keep performing the work that the previous cog was doing. So there's a process, and you fit into a process, and you have to do that. That helps your learning as well, but it helps understand what processes are, what systems are, how systems flow and impact various other core systems, and therefore you understand the whole ecosystem if you get that visibility and if you have a good manager. Whereas in a startup, it's like chaos. It's a chaotic world. So if you are a restless person, if you're a creative person, you like to get into many things together, startup is your area. You should. If you are generally a very stable person, you want a very structured life, you like routine, and there's no harm in routine. It's good sometimes, and that's how, you see, you can't have everybody. I mean, I would suggest people to read about Belbin steamrolls. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this person, but Belbin steamrolls, I mean, that it helps you, they categorizes different kind of personalities, 9 different kind of personalities, and how these personalities make the best team. So you see, for any team to succeed, you must have some creative people, and you also must have some critical people. It's very important for a team to have some pessimistic people as well. They help you be in a controlled setup. Otherwise, the creative people can go everywhere and just go around. I mean, they can bring the world on the table. They need to. So now, if you like routine, if you like process, you like structure, you like timetable, you like to attend classes on time and come out in time, then an established system is what will help you. If you like to jump into multiple things and you get too restless doing the same thing for 2 years consecutively, I think startup is a good opportunity for you, because then they just want people who can do many things. So startups want you, people like you. Now, startups, you have to be very, yes, you will get in an established system, you'll get your salary every month. You may not get very big jumps every year, but you'll get your salaries. Your salaries will be secure. You'll be happy. You'll come back 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever time it is. You'll come back home. You'll have your life. There could be a possibility of this. I'm not saying sure, but there could be a possibility of this. But in a startup, your timetable, everything goes for a toss. So you may have, and the startups could do fantastic, and you can have a fantastic jump one year, and it could dip another year. But if you're open to this, that gives a different kind of kick. So people should look at their orientation, and no orientation is wrong. You must look at what you like and therefore go with it. I will not suggest not to go for a startup and go for an established, and I would not suggest the vice versa either. Now, whether HR is right in doing so, you see, we are all products. We all people are products in the talent market. The way you are selling, you have to think yourself, you're not some, I mean, of course, you have your education, everything, your education, your experience, your caliber, your potential, everything, but you don't carry a halo around you and say, oh, look, I am this world's best gift. You are a product. How best you're able to sell yourself, the HR will value that. Just the way in India, when we go out in the markets, we bargain for products. Whoever is able to give us the best deal, we pick up that product. It depending on what I want. There are some products I look at the tag and therefore buy it. The tag that comes along with it, the brand tag. Sometimes I go for what is going to be longevity. Sometimes I go for what gives me better reviews. Sometimes I go for cost. And that's how HR looks at. HR looks at you as a product. I'm sorry, but that's how. And I have no harm in saying that you are presenting, you're really selling yourself. And that's another thing I would like to suggest everybody. You have, all of us, right from childhood, we have this knack of selling. We have been selling our ideas and thoughts as we have grown up. Just remember the times when you wanted something really bad and you convinced either your mother or your father to be able to get that thing. What all methods you used? You probably used direct method, or you used an indirect method. You cajoled somebody else to convince your father to allow you to do something, or your mother. We've used various methods to sell an idea. Just remember and go back, because as you grow in the organization, you need to be able to sell. An R&D person needs to be able to sell an idea to the business. Similarly, a business person needs to sell an idea to the customer. A customer needs to be able to sell an idea to the vendor to have an association. You need to sell an idea to finance to allow you the budget. We all need to sell ideas. So the more you work on your selling skills, everything else falls in place. And your interviews are nothing but a selling practice. How best you're able to sell yourself. And that's why a lot of times, if you're really hard sold yourself, sometimes, and the HR and the hiring manager is not able to understand the hard selling bit of it, sometimes we end up with a wrong talent.
Yeah. So
and
if
the culture thing is also there.
So if I can moderate, Ankita, you can ask the next question, and then maybe we'll do Shruti's 10 questions. Yes. I'll give your contact information to anyone who needs to ask further questions, to ask you questions offline.
Absolutely.
So Ankita, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Sudeep. This is Ankita. I'm part of Biopan R&D from last 7 years. So my question for you is what we are facing in last 2 years for COVID. So in this time, many people have lost their job. There are many people who are approaching, especially on LinkedIn. And at this moment, along with their talent and the job requirement that they have a lot of emotions attached to it. That uh, the family is not doing good and I want the job, and this kind of messages we keep on getting. So I want you to answer this from a point of view that what is the art of denial, that you do not hurt other people's emotions at the same time, and you are saying clearly that yeah, there is no job opportunity currently, but yeah, in future maybe I'll contact you. And how do you ignore on the similar line, how do you ignore a few unknown people who are continuously nagging that please job de do, aaj nahi to kal de do, this kind of thing. So
I think you said it exactly how it is. Be honest with them. I think even with emotions, um, I mean, one good thing that has happened in LinkedIn these days is people share a post. If people are approaching you on your LinkedIn, then share the post so that it reaches maximum people. If you can't offer, somebody else might. But if somebody is asking you, I think it's very important that a person, instead of trying to um, delay the decision, it's better to tell the person, I'm sorry, I don't have an opportunity right now, although I'd love to explore that piece, but I'll definitely keep you in mind once an opportunity comes up. It's better to be, these are emotional times, they're very sensitive times, but at this time, it's also important to be honest with people, because job markets any which way are not, I mean, it's becoming better now, but we are still struggling with COVID and the effects of COVID on business, and business also works in that manner. So if I don't have a job, I don't have a job, and it's better to be honest with those people. At least they're not thinking, and there is, I mean, they will be thankful, but at least you're not hurting them more. Oh, I told them, the person did not respond, so possibly I might have a hope. He'd probably be putting his effort somewhere else. Then it's better to be honest. I'm very honest with people. If they're nagging me too many times, I'm sorry. I said, I understand the situation, but I'm really sorry, I can't help you right now because there is no opportunity, because you're also answerable to somebody. You can't give a job. I mean, we as HRs also, we really can't give a job on a platter. The job, I mean, we have a job opening, but it's the hiring manager who takes the decision. HR doesn't take the decision.
Yeah.
But I think it's the time to be so honest with people.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. So let's go with Shruti. Shruti, you want to do your best 10 or how?
Sure. Hi, Sudeep. I'm Shruti. I'm currently working in Biocon manufacturing. So yeah, I would like to ask quick 10 questions.
Okay.
So firstly, when you're mostly kid, you're mostly told that you can be either doctor, engineer. But what was your dream when you were a kid? Like, I don't think it's a very usual decision to be an HR, right?
No, I mean, we only had the two options, doctor, engineer.
Yeah.
And one thing, my father was in the army, so I was very clear that that's not a place I will go to. So one thing was definitely out. I'm not going to army. I was just too rebellious in my thought and questioning to get into army. In army, you're supposed to, so I'd rather, I'm a doctor. So it was imposed in my head that I'll become a doctor. It's only much later I realized that, sorry, I can't become a doctor. I'd rather choose something else. So then I let myself go wherever the life took me.
By the way, Anjali is also army child.
Okay.
Hi, Sudeep. I am also in Air Force at present in Delhi. So my dad is also in Air Force. So for me also, it was like you be in the Air Force, give a CDS and all. And I was like, no, I want to be in science.
Okay.
Okay. Are you involved in some volunteering activity?
I was. For the last 8-9 months, I'm not involved outside my organization, but I head the CSR of my organization, and So apart from CSR, we've been doing a lot of activities, especially during the COVID surge, on providing oxygen concentrators and we work in the remote villages. I mean, the villages probably you would have never heard of. Even the nearest towns are probably unheard of in India. So the villages are really unheard of, and therefore the COVID has been really, really bad for these people. So we've been working on that. But before that, I was with Biocon. When I was with Biocon, I was associated with Jobs for as a mentor for women who were trying to come back to corporate life. So for about 2 years, I was a mentor with them. Those are my two main ones.
Great. So when are you most productive?
I'm most productive after 6 o'clock. I don't know why. I think I've just been, it has to be to my managers earlier, but I'm really post-productive after 6 o'clock. That's when my brain works. First half of the day, I only listen.
Okay. What advice would you like to give to your younger self? Like after you go through so much, then you would say, okay, I would have done this better, like in my younger age, so that, right? So what advice would you like to give to your younger self?
My younger self. How younger, if you can take me back,
18 years, when you were 18 years.
When 18 years, I would suggest be a little less questioning, more curious, but less questioning. So I would question, I don't know whether there's a right English word, but I would question everything and anything around. So I would suggest myself to be a little more composed, listen more, observe more, and absorb more.
So if you're not working, how would you like to spend your time?
I have various interests. I love movies and world movies, all kinds of languages. Language doesn't deter me. So right from a Serbian, Slovakian movie to, it has to be a good movie. So we watch movies. I love reading books. These days I've got into Audible, so listening to books more, that helps. I love to cook. I love to eat. I've started learning how to play djembe. I love to play with my daughter because there's another 2 years that she's going to play with me. After that, she won't even want me around her.
Okay. So what's your hidden talent that many people don't know?
I can laugh a lot. I can laugh continuously for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. The longest I've laughed for is 30 minutes.
Oh my God.
Without stopping, I'm saying. And my team in Biocon, they know about it. They dread, oh, Sudeep's laughter has started.
Okay. So if you got an opportunity to be under someone else's shoes, who would that person be? Like if you're given 1 day time, like you can be like that person. So who that person will be?
Nobody. I mean,
okay.
I've loved my journey. I've had my falls. I have had bad days, very bad days, horrible days. But all of this has helped me to be who I am, and I stand by every decision I have taken all through my life. At the moment, if I have to switch my shoes with somebody, probably will be my daughter, which is a rather carefree life. I'd like to go back to school. But I'm happy in my shoes. I love my shoes. I have a huge collection of shoes. I won't give it.
Okay. Your favorite book that you would like to suggest everyone?
Good to Great. And the difficulty of being good. Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's a very important book for everybody to read. And Difficulty of Being Good by Gurcharan Das. And that's a beautiful book, which will give you a very different perspective. All of us have read about, know about the Mahabharata characters, but this will give you a different perspective to go through the characters of Mahabharata from the business perspective also. Each character has its own personality, and that personality is presented. and none of the characters are, Mahabharata presents all the characters have a shade of gray. All the characters have had some flaws in them. And that's how any form of business, corporate, we all are. And that presents that book that in a very, very nice way that we'll understand each other. We understand ourselves better if we read that book.
Okay, last and final question. What quality in people do you value the most?
I'd love to say honesty, but I'm okay with a little bit of dishonesty, honestly speaking. But what I really value the most is an ability to think and question. For honestly speaking, I really think everybody should do. It's again very bad for young people. Well, my thoughts, but they're really crazy thoughts, I would say. You should have cheated in your life. You cannot become smart if you've never cheated in your life in school or college or sometime. You should have cheated. You see, because as you grow ahead, nakal ke liye akal chahiye. It's very important. So a little bit of dishonesty, if you've shown it somewhere, that's okay. That's who we are. We have to be a little bit of dishonest somewhere. So I won't be. But if you can't think, that's going to be. If you get stuck at thinking, and if you don't take out time to think, you don't reflect, you don't introspect, you don't grow really.
Wow.
I'd like to quote one. I like to quote one Hindi poem. Is everybody comfortable with Hindi?
Yeah.
So there's a small poem on Hindi which I read it long time when I was in college, but it has always stayed with me. Ghonga. Ghonga means snail. Okay. Ghonga bas ad gaya. Chahe mano ki lad gaya. Ya chahe mano jakad gaya. Ghonga ad gaya means he just took a stand. Chahe mano lad gaya, he just got into a conflict. Ya jakad gaya was frozen. बात सिर्फ इतनी थी, जीवन का नियम सीधा है, चलो और चलते रहो, पर घोंगा वहीं पड़ गया, which means he stayed there. होना यही था, वहीं पर सड़ गया. What it means is that if you stand for something, or if you get frozen in something, you're not moving forward. Mentally, you're stuck. And that's not life is. Life is for moving forward, to move on and get on. If you don't, you get stagnant, and therefore that's your fall.
Oh, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Sudeep. Thank you very much for taking time. I know it's been late. It's late for you and everyone. Thank you again for
thank you so much.
Session.
A network should last a lifetime. Let us help you create lasting professional relationships with our world-class mentors through the Biopatrika Industry Mentorship Program. A strategic guidance program unlike no other, full of expert interviews, industry internship opportunities, CV writing, inflection point analysis, life maps, and of course, the gateway to your dream career. For a limited time only, all our services are freely available for you, as we truly want you to succeed.